2 races to go, and we'll start these final 2 weeks off with a trip to Monterey, California. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Weathertech Raceway at Laguna Seca, and of course, to round number 8 of the Beer League. My name is Nolan Rempel, alongside one fan Acinni, as we get set to bring you all of racing action from start to finish here this afternoon. Going to be a wild show then, Fan, as we are ready to rumble out for race number 8.
Race number 8, 2 to go at one of the kind of more well-traveled iRacing circuits, as one of the options you'll see a lot in the Rookie Series. A little more familiar for a lot of these drivers, maybe not as familiar for these cars, as the Bees all leave the Hornet's Nest of pit lane to go rumble out there and set some qualifying lap times here this afternoon.
We'll, of course, take a rundown of the official championship order entering race in action here this afternoon, where up on top it is Henry Morse. And right now, Morse looking pretty darn secure with that championship after confidence and missed last week's race. So, of course, he and Alexander Bueller are now the 2 drivers in locked in combat for the final spot to close out the season. And this one reportedly looking like it's pretty set in stone for Henry Morse, unless anything really happens to Bueller. Unless anything happens to Morse in these last few weeks. But so far, Morse just got to run some consistent races, and he should be smooth sailing.
Yes, he should be. I'm more looking at the battle for what will be the 3rd step of the podium. Giovanni Romano and Austin Tucker, I think, are currently tied for 4th. But when we get past the fact that Alex Crawford has to miss this week as well, then these 2 will be bumping up for that final podium spot. So, and that takes us over to the team championships, if I'm not mistaken.
And then, of course, Legendary has gotten themselves with a leg up on the team's championship, being able to get around Formula Legends pretty convincingly over the last couple of runs here. Zero Team 6 still maintains a firm grip on 3rd, but not too far off as Cryptid Awareness Project slowly climbing the ranks as they've gotten around Legends Never Die.
Yes, and I think with another great finish here, they will be, I think, trying to bring that fight to Serial Team 6 for that bottom step of the podium there as well in the team championship.
So we'll take a look now on how the consumption has gone out throughout the course of the race thus far, as we are looking set to go into the closing stages here of the season, just barely over 3 kegs so far, with more yet to come, no doubt, before this season draws to a close. With all that said and done, qualifying is very much underway here from the Weathertech Raceway Laguna Seca. Why not? Let's ride aboard with a couple of drivers here. We'll try to take you for a trip around this racetrack, and let's join in with Austin Tucker.
Fantastic drive for him as he is getting around the final couple corners here to set a flying lap. Puts himself 3rd on the board after Justin Hall passes just behind him, but he makes it down in turn 1 and 2. Lovely double apex to open up the lap.
Lovely double apex indeed, but still with a good ways to go. That was, of course, through the Andretti hairpin. Now we're going to fight our way all the way into turn number 3. Power sliding the car out all the way up onto the curves before he resets himself before a dip under the curves on the outside. Nailed that apex on the inside, and then look to fire back down the straightaway.
After that straightaway comes the lovely set of corners, including the rather infamous, not quite as infamous, the corner following it. He gets this kink here at Laguna Seca, but he has to figure out where he's going to plant that car. This car sliding a little bit more than most that you go through it. Got to lift a little bit more, not take an ass flat out. Still runs it very wide, just running it, continuing to keep the pedal in as he goes up the incline there. A lovely hill before the corkscrew, but he unfortunately backs out of it. But Darren by taking the lovely jump down the roller coaster that is the corkscrew into the final couple corners of the lap.
Gosh, that corkscrew, of course, so infamous, and of course, an extremely blind corner. Even in cars like these, that is one place to watch for calamity here in this race. As Darren By will jam onto the brakes with the slowest corner on the racetrack at the final hairpin, and then make his way back down the straight. And that will be a lap around the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. So several drivers now getting themselves onto the boards, as we look set to see how this one's going to pan on out this afternoon in qualifying.
I think it's going to set up for some interesting racing. Alexander Bueller on top of the podium. Alexander Hammonds, Justin Hall, currently in 2nd and 3rd. Chris Flams, I think, has had probably his best qualifying of the season so far. There in fourth. Ryan Verhol's come across the line. I don't think he does set a time up in 15th with the 139.82 lap time.
Other drivers like Max Verstappen making their way around this racetrack as well. Verstappen, of course, still early in the lap. Connor Daly, meanwhile, working his way through the last couple of corners. He wants to put himself up towards the top of the timing charts this afternoon. We'll take that number 76 car across the stripe. And not sure if that's the time that gets successfully logged, and it is not. So he will have to try again. Evan Campbell also on a flyer right now.
I'd say with that 7-second off the pace, with that 147 going through the corkscrew, I think it'll be a very interesting one. We'll see a lot of action there, is going to be my guess. Usually do here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca, but we'll see how well these cars drive 2-3 wide. Oh, going off there at the rainy curve. But we'll have to reset the lap there. Brooks Clayton out of the final corner, shooting down the start-finish stretch to set a better lap time than they've currently set with that 139.0. Let's see, with a 138.5. That will improve them up to 9th. One position.
Good showing for... And the reason why there's only one is because Jason Lee just set a fast lap as well. Austin Tucker on the improvement as well. Alexander Hammonds, meanwhile, chasing provisional pole this afternoon. Does he get it? He does! A 137.5 and puts Alexander Hammonds not quite to the top. That is to his current lap. He is still 2/10 off of Bueller.
He is 2/10 off of Bueller with that 137.36. But it's far closer than he was prior, and with Alex Clank only 100th behind Alexander Hammonds, still a very tight grouping between the top 3 as well as the top 5, all within half a second. Excuse me.
So the rest of the field continuing to work their way up and around. Bueller, of course, dipped 2 wheels into the grass, so we know he is not going to be improving here on this qualifying effort. Meanwhile, Alex King, one of these other drivers that is looking set to try and put himself on the top of the boards. A 139.8 is the fastest King has to offer so far. Good half a second off of the mark. Looking for more this afternoon, as he needs quite a bit if he wanted to improve up the provisional pole.
Plenty to improve there, but we've seen a lot of these drivers find a little more pace over the course of the qualifying one as well as the heat race, as Jason Lee lets Alex King by, getting that counter steering going to keep that car going the right direction overall. You gotta go, was it turn right to go left? I believe is the saying there.
Big improve for Alex King. That should easily get him up into the top 20, and it is all the way up to 14th. A great improvement for King on that lap. Meanwhile, Alexander Hammonds again puts down the fast lap of his session so far, but it is only good enough to remain in third. But now you got first, second, and third all separated by less than a 10th.
And that margin keeps getting
closer. The top
closer. 4. Yes, as Henry Lieberman sets almost an identical time to Eric Rottenberg. I believe it's a couple thousandths that separate those two.
Exactly 4 thousandths off the mark. Rottenberg was a 37.391. Lieberman was a 37.395. So very, very slim margins. Now we see if Alexander Bueller can potentially get a time down and pull away. This is all on the gamble, though. Well, I was going to say that Alex Cover wouldn't curb stomp these guys at the end of their qualifying run, but I forgot he's not here tonight.
No, yes, this is his second of 2 weeks that he's out, off doing cool real-life stuff. So he'll be back, I believe, for the finale. But that is why I was also leaning into that championship battle for third place as Alexander Bueller comes across the line, because I think it'll be what is the most exciting coming into the final stages of the championship.
Rottenberg pulls it off, not even making the improvement. Sorry, that was Bueller that pulled it off. Meanwhile, oh boy, Rottenberg flirted with the outside. One's not enough to invalidate the lap. It's going to be closer at the stripe. It will not be an improvement for him. What about Lieberman? What does he have in store for Bueller? As well as Alexander Hammonds just in front.
Both of them, I think, looking to set fast times. I think Alexander Hammonds is on a pretty good flyer right now. If he keeps it to the last couple corners, Alexander Clank right behind him on track and in the position for qualifying.
No improvement for Hammonds. Lieberman across the stripe this time by and also misses out by the smallest of margins. But Chris Bright closes in as he has improved to 6th.
A fantastic improvement for Chris Bright. I remember he was setting a slower lap time previous couple times by, but he has made his way up in the top 10 there. Jason Lee also following those group of cars, setting fastest lap time for him as well in qualifying with a 1:38.22. Jordan Babcock tries to set his lap time, or improve it, I should say.
Boy, we're having an awesome qualifying session this afternoon. This has been fantastic so far.
It is tight battles all the way down the grid for those that have set the qualifying times. A good handful still have yet to do so, but I think it'll make for some very tight battles going into the heat as well as the feature.
So the rest of the field set to work themselves up and around as Clink right now anticipated to be around the realm of 5 to 6/10 of a second up on his prior lap. Could we see Clank punch his ticket to within a 10th of the top spot?
He's got a good run here. I think the only part that might slow him down is that front start-finish stretch and not having a draft going into it. But even then, that'll only be, I think, maybe a few hundredths off the time that he might have otherwise. So, great launch out of the final corner there. Nice, stable planted as he brings it across the line.
And does he improve? He does! Not quite as much as we thought he might, but he does get with just about within 3/10 of the leader. So Alexander Clank will continue to chip away at the top spots. Corey Barrett improves up to the number 11 spot at the end of his lap. And Ben Williams thought he might have been on the good one. He ends up being 3/10 off.
A unfortunate one. It's always rough when you feel like you're up in the first couple sectors and then you end up being slower for one reason or another in the final couple, and you're like, man, there's improvement there. And then you just have to go back around again and then find that improvement consistently throughout the lap.
Well, the good news is what this is doing is this is really, really showing off how tight this feels this afternoon, right? Laguna Seca is one of those tracks, everyone in iRacing knows it. Everyone has raced here at some point. It is one of the quintessential rookie racetracks, right up there with the likes of the Summit Point Raceway, Lime Rock Park, and more. Not a soul on iRacing that doesn't know what this place is. That's what makes this track so competitive. You're bringing your A game here, and that is representative in the times that we're seeing so far for the top 4.
Certainly, you at least bring the familiarity you have from running MX-5s, or potentially these cars as well, because they do go, the Road Cup of the Legends 34 Coupes do drive here, so there is that possibility as well. While a newer possibility than most of the drivers when they were going through rookies and the rookie format on their working way up their safety ratings. It's still one that you see across a lot of series as well beyond the rookies. So a very familiar one for most of these drivers to bring their A game, or at least their, I know this track inside and out, and I really have to fine tune how this car drives around it, as Alex King finds his way around in the Andretti hairpin.
Alex King going to drop it on the way in while other drivers get set to come across the line here in just a short order. There you see Ryan Murphy looking to work his way up and across the stripe as well this afternoon. 0-2 entry going to cross over the start-finish line, and right ahead of him, Carson Catlin, the driver that has had his fair share of screen time, though oftentimes not for the reasons he might hope for. Usually it means he's kind of found himself facing the wrong way. Could he potentially get a good run this afternoon?
That's the hope. He has set an initial time here of a 140.12, but I think he's still probably got another second in there to be where I've seen him earlier in the season in terms of pace with other drivers around Tyler Vietton and Evan Campbell, who both improved their last lap times by. Evan Campbell going up to 23rd with a 139.45. So you got to imagine there's a little bit more pace though for Carson Catlin, as well as the car on track behind him, Ryan Murphy. I think both have a little bit more time in there.
So Justin Hall just pulled his car to pit road at the tail end of qualifying here, so looking like he might very well be done. Holy cow, Clank with a big step out on the way into the penultimate corner there. Able to wrangle it together, but that 013 got a little bit dicey there and a little bit wide out of this corner as well, and I don't think this is going to really lead to much.
I don't think it will, especially given the fact that it's a 3-minute lap time. I think it is a bit of kind of feeling how the car drives as he makes his way off track and does the usual post-qualifying celebrations.
So Alexander Bueller so far has remained on top of the points boards, is looking to be nigh unstoppable this afternoon. Does anybody have an answer for the Hail Satin number 58 of Alexander Bueller as he works his way into the last series of corners?
As he does so, I just want to point out there is only 300ths between him and the top 3 on the podium. So even if they don't have an answer right now, I think it's very possible the consistency there between these drivers could bring any of them into that fight, especially with how the draft impacts these cars over the course of the lap.
Ronenberg not able to improve as he crosses the start-finish line. Henry Lieberman working up towards the corkscrew once again, working his 7th lap in this 20-minute qualifying session to start a run out of time as well. I believe he may very well be starting his final lap of the session this time by.
I would have to imagine he is, because as soon as we get to that end of qualifying, that is where it ends. There's no final laps for these drivers after the 20 minutes has elapsed. So,
of course, usually the Premier Sim Racing Sim Game Expo Truck Series would normally be on right now, but they do not return until next week. So if you're from our Wednesday night competition and you're checking out what else is to watch here on Wednesday nights, I welcome you along. Henry Lieberman, provisional pole by a quarter of a second. Storming lap.
Jeez, just had, I think, a fantastic set of corners there and really had everything pinned together just right with a little bit of help from the draft earlier on. I think it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to keep that consistency, or will he be more closer to his lap times like we've seen earlier in qualifying.
Now the question doesn't go to who has an answer for Bueller, it's who has an answer for Lieberman. These guys don't got much time to adjust here. Alexander Bueller throwing that car into the final corner, trying to get a good drive down the pit straightaway here. Can he close in? He's got to get a 137.1. Not going to get it this time by. Doesn't even best his current fastest lap. Same story for Ronenberg. And same story for Hammonds. All of them have one more attempt. And that should put Lieberman on pole. I don't think they got an answer for him.
I think it's hard to do so, especially when you're driving out kind of by yourself like each one of these drivers more or less are. Eric Ronenberg, I think, giving up on his final attempt here. Instead, letting Alexander Hammonds get a little bit of a draft, as well as see what these drivers have. But and without, I think, a draft to help push them up the order further, I think they're kind of stuck where they are.
Holy cow. What a run. That was a lap. I mean, to best the field by a quarter of a second. That is no small feat when the top 4 is that closely separated together. I mean, that means he was absolutely on the ragged edge, and he's not going to attempt another one.
No, I mean, when you set that time that late in the session, you are very happy with the quarter of a second you built the rest of the field to at least set yourself up at the front to make it an easy, hopefully an easy start, but certainly know where everybody else stands kind of in a vacuum.
Alexander Bueller still has 3 corners to go. Ronenberg still on track behind, as is Hammonds. All of them still have time to get this one final lap in. Will one of these start on pole? Bueller bails to pit road. He did not have enough time. Eric Ronenberg staying out. He thinks he might have an answer. He's got his teammate Justin Hall just up the road. Bit of a draft. That draft is critical down the pit straight, but I don't think it's going to be nearly enough. With only 3 seconds to go, he is going to miss it by a country mile. What about Alexander Hammonds? Does he get him? Yes, he may have just got him. That's really close. Oh, misses out by 600ths.
Oh. Yeah, I think that was what Eric Ronenberg was aiming for, was to help Alexander Hammonds more than his own lap. Give him a little, at least that's what I'm believing based on what I saw there, was a little bit of a draft help to help kind of tighten up the gap between all these cars. But a fantastic showing from Alexander Hammonds to put himself second alongside Henry Lieberman. One of the best qualifying sessions that we have seen from these guys since we started broadcasting. That was absolutely phenomenal. And we'll take a rundown of what your official starting grid looks like this afternoon for our 15-minute sprint. Henry Lieberman starts on pole position this afternoon alongside Alexander Hammonds. Row number 2 headed up by Alexander Bueller and Eric Ronenberg. Row 3 then holds Alexander Koenk alongside Chris Bryant for Zero Team 6. Row 4 with the likes of Justin Hall and Chris Flams. Row 5 holds Jason Lee and Darren by
with the final drivers in that top 12 invert going to be Corey Barrett and Josh Freed. Row 7 holds Austin Tucker for Series Team 6 alongside Legends of the Hidden Temple driver Tyler Carlson. Row number 8 holding Flying Donut Motorsports' Evan Campbell alongside Brooks Clayton. Row 9 with Alex King and Jordan Babcock for Cryptid Awareness Project back on row number 9. And then row number 10 is going to be Ron Wolf and Ryan Murphy. The rest of the field closed out by Greg Beckman, Matt Verstappen, Ben Williams, Tyler Vietnam, Justin Brissy, Ryan Verhulst, Connor Daly, Carson Catlin, Blake Gambrell, Jeremy Castro, Adam Joseph Elhott, Henry Morse, Tyler Augustino, Giovanni Romano, Jake Kasich, and Chris Zofer.
A fantastic set of qualifying there. Like you said, so many close battles in terms of initial one-lap pace that I think is going to translate to a lot of great battling up and down the grid as we get set to get underway here.
This race is going to be an intense one this afternoon, and it is one that the field has been hotly anticipated. The season finale track has already been decided as well, so this is all just a question now of who's going to be starting up on top of the boards when we go racing around next week for that final race of the championship. So, I mean, who do you think? I mean, I got no money on who could win this one with how close that session was.
Yeah, I would say anybody in the top 4 now, or almost top 5. I want to say you want to also include Alexander Clank. All have a great shot here.
Revs are going to build. And it's underway for the sprint race here at the Weathertech Raceway at Laguna Seca. A solid getaway from Henry Lieberman, but it's an even better one from the man himself, Alexander Hammonds, trying to get the run down to the turn number 1 this afternoon, looking to go around the outside. Lieberman going to maintain his run while the rest of the field cycles their way on through, looking like a couple of cars may have been shucked out behind, but for the most part, we're clean and green, 1 car off the road, and it's a relatively clean start at the opening corners.
Yeah, there's a big shake from Lieberman out of turn number 3 there, and that's where Alexander Hammonds, Alexander Bueller, all of them kind of starting to shuffle through who is in the lead here. 2-3 wide going into turn number 5? Yes, 5 here.
And the whole fano behind is they're not the only ones that look to go 3 abreast this afternoon. It is a complete madhouse as we hit the infamous turn number 6 and making our way up the hill. And now into the crest of that dreaded corkscrew. There's the big lock of Jason Lee. 1 car going around. Lee gonna take out Darren by. They're colliding at the top of the hill while they make their way down off the corner exit. It's a big mess up there at the top.
That it is. All these drivers trying to get themselves sorted. Now they've started going back to the right direction. But a lot of them, unfortunately, having to drop down the order as that incident with Tyler, well, also including Tyler Agostino and Jordan Babcock as well. Starting to spread that field out a little bit.
A big collision up at the top of the hill. Lieberman gets through for the number 2 spot. Let's take a look on what happened coming up into into the corkscrew here. Freed locked up, went straight into Darren by. Ben Williams then slid in there. Wow, went Jeremy Castro. It just kind of was on from there.
Yes, unfortunately, a couple other self-spins as they got that initial wreck and people just trying to react and not get caught up, unfortunately overcorrecting and then getting into their own incidents.
Alexander Hammonds has not been able to pull away much at the head of the field. The gap was up to about 0.7 of a second, but that has already been dragged right back down to only about 4 as he tries to fight himself clear of Henry Lieberman and more up to the corkscrew for the 2nd time.
And you can see it in the corkscrew and that lead up on that uphill. If you have the draft, it's so much easier to have that car work uphill and not have to worry about the wind. Also, giving it resistance, Alexander Clank taking a quick run off there, trying to not run into one of the Eric Ronenberg in front of him, getting out of the corkscrew.
Oh, and a collision in the corkscrew. Connor Daly and Matt Verstappen have both gone around to the top of the hill. Unfortunate news for them as things just continue to deteriorate. And unfortunately, there was 2 separate incidents.
I think 2 self spins, and then they come together at the end of it.
Lieberman with the fastest lap of the race this time by 1:37.3, not too far off of the lap that got him pole position. There you see Jason Lee trying to look for the inside of Chris Bright through the Andretti hairpin. No dice though this time.
And he's going to file in behind. Jason Lee and all of them try to keep each other in the draft, and keeping the draft of Chris Bright that they're all hanging out behind. Bruce Clayton as well in the back of that, looking to find a way around, along with his teammate.
And look at what we got for fight for the lead here. Lieberman has caught Alexander Hammonds trying to look for the inside into turn 6. This is a really brave look. He's going to be able to force the issue, though. But boy, oh boy, that is not something I thought we'd be seeing this afternoon just yet. Up the hill, still side by side into the corkscrew here.
Jeez.
As they keep it off each other, still, and we remain 2 wide all the way down the hill.
Henry Lieberman keeping plenty of room, giving plenty of space to Alexander Hammonds after getting that great exit out of turn number 5, and just running 2 wide from the kink all the way through the corkscrew, and finally getting the pass done in Rain's curve shortly after.
Lieberman to the point. And this fight will be one that is walked out towards turn number 1. Hammonds is right there. He wants to go to the top spot. Looks for the inside. And he's going to dive to the inside of the Andretti hairpin. And nearly catches the 67. Lieberman able to hang on around the outside.
Yeah, hangs around the outside, gives space once again. I think he almost thought Alex Hammonds was going to back out of it, and he has not. So it's 2 by 2 with Alex Buehler and Eric Ronenberg also trying to defend their own ways around this battle for the lead.
Just by that, you saw Jason Lee drop out of the top 12. He went for a self-spin and won.
Unfortunate for Jason Lee. Eric Ronenberg keep up with them. Just love how just whenever we see the 2 wide for a lot of these, more once we get through the initial couple laps, how much space each of the cars give for the other car to have room on this track, given how small these cars are. These are 5th scale. Alexander Hammonds getting a close lock up there, almost spinning it, and ends up, oh no, Alexander Crank, Justin Hall, Chris Flam's all getting wrapped up in that.
They're linked together. Look at the wheel wells. They can't get unstuck. And that's going to cause them both to drop out of the top 12 in a big way.
Oh, that's just got to be heartbreaking when the simulation decides that your cars are perpetually linked together after an incident.
Not much either of them could have done to get themselves unstuck. We'll look at that in just a moment. Here's another side-by-side between Barrett and Giovanni Romano. It'll be a fight that quickly sorts itself out. This is what happened just moments ago. You saw... Well, there's Chris Flams getting involved. I think that was Alexander Klein that just kind of spun it up the road, and
he got into the back. That is, he did get into the back of Eric Ronenberg, and that's what initially tipped him. And then Justin Hall and Chris Flams both getting running into him as they kind of come down that blind curve, like you were talking about. I think they had no idea where Plank was in that corner.
Around the outside goes Greg Beckman. Make that Tyler Vietnam as he gets around Greg Beckman. Same story for Giovanni Romano, getting up and around the outside of Austin Tucker. Meanwhile, Ronenberg. Oh, he's going to lose it from 3rd. Took too much curbing in 6th. And he spins it in the middle of the Rahal strength. Can he get going for losing the top 12? Looks like he'll be able to, oh boy. He dropped right towards the bubble spot.
He's not out of it yet, but he is definitely going to have to find a little bit of work to do to not lose out on those final 2 transfer spots. But if he stays here, he's in a great place for it.
To those just tuning in that may not be familiar with the event format, we have a 15-minute sprint race. The top 12 from that sprint race score points. and are inverted for the main event. So first place will start 12th and vice versa. That resets us for a 1 hour main event. Hammonds is in pit road.
Yes, he underfueled the car. He put that in the chat
as
the car race got underway. So he is underfueled it. So he has to come in for pits and take a quick fuel stop. And we'll see him rejoin the race probably down in the tail end of the pack.
Well, that could screw his whole event because not only is he now down and out for the sprint race, but he's going to be all the way at the back of the field for the main event as well.
It's definitely a lot of ground to recover. He does have a couple of his teammates down there further down the order. Mac Verstappen also getting caught up in an earlier thing to work with him, but it's definitely going to be an uphill climb for him this evening, especially in the feature race.
Already, we are about 10 minutes into this sprint race here. We are approaching the 5 minutes to go mark, which means we're only going to have about 3-4 more laps in this one before this sprint race draws to a close. And while there hasn't been a lot of really big incidents, there's been a lot of aggressive racing going on. And now we see Corey Barrett off the road.
I think he joined Eric Ronenberg taking too much curb on the inside and just bounces it over that sausage curb. So we'll see here in a moment.
You gotta be careful with that, man. I mean, once I was driving an MX-5 race and I hit that curb into aggressively. I didn't spin. I broke the oil pan.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, depending on what car you have, that sausage curb could be anywhere from a spin to damage to just an unfun day and making the car drive a lot worse than you really want it to. So it's always a gamble on how close you want to get before you go over the curb and cause damage to the car.
I mean, even in reality, look at what happened in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge when they raced here, right? I mean, you had one of the McLarens overshoot that curb, pushed directly into the car, spun around, car was done. Oh, and around, gonna go Alex King, collected by Brooks Clayton.
Collected, kind of pushed him back in the right direction, but unfortunately that's both of them slowing down. Austin Tucker in that mix as well. Pick up the position there behind Giovanni Romano.
So well within the 5 minutes to go mark, the battle for 12th is one between Jason Lee and Henry Morse. This is to determine who starts on pole position, who starts in 13th when it comes around to the main event. And right now, Morse wants to start on pole as he looks at the inside of Lee.
Yeah, I think he's looking to get that good transfer spot into pole position. He did not qualify, if I remember correctly, for this race. He kind of slid in a little last minute from what we saw. So he was working his way up here in the feature. It's not a thing he also likes to do. I know we love to see Giovanni Romano also start from the back. I don't remember who else likes to do that a lot.
Corey Barrett locked up at the end of the Rahal straight, nearly went around. Oh, one car into the wall. That is Justin Brissy, who is facing the wrong way and dropping like a stone. And in fact, he got into Corey Barrett. That's the reason why Corey Barrett locked up.
Yep. That is unfortunately how he got all the way out there, kind of in the gravel, the corkscrew.
Boy, another big wiggle for Alexander Clegg in the middle of this scrap here as he's going to have to give a spot up to Tyler Viet, it looks like. Meanwhile, Tucker to the inside of Alex King. Henry Morse resets the fastest lap of the race as he tries to drive away from Jason Lee while Tucker gets back up to number 6.
It's a fantastic drive for Austin Tucker up from where he started up into the 6th position. Fantastic drive from a lot of the field that is currently up in all of the transfer spots, from anywhere from 1st to 12th. Chris Bright up 3 from where he started in 6th as a result of just consistency. Giovanni Romano up 30. So fantastic racing from all of them, puts them in fantastic spots for this feature event here in about a couple laps time.
Alex King picks off the spot on Austin Tucker. I believe we're going to be 2 to go this time by. Doesn't look like we are quite going to be able to take the 1 to go signal with how far out in front Henry Lieberman is, which would make this a 10-lap sprint.
That it would. I think it's I wonder if anybody else underfueled as a result.
I'm about to find out. It's hard to underfuel in these cars, so I'd be a bit shocked if they did. And yeah, this will be 2 to go here.
I'd say it certainly, but there's also the trade-off of less fuel means car is lighter, and theoretically then goes faster.
I mean, do you want this car to be lighter? It's already light as a feather as it is compared to most cars. I don't know if I want this thing to be any lighter in the corners.
Well, to be fair, it's lighter on the straights, which is, I think, where it matters the most, but I agree. Any lighter on the corners, and it's just going to spin, I think, on you, no matter what.
The corkscrew here.
We'll have to see.
The battle for fourth is on still as... Sorry, for fifth is still on as Clayton, King, Ronenberg, and Tucker all under a blanket. Alex King goes around the long way. Brooks Clayton, though, continues to fight the inside. Into turn 5. And, ooh, a near collision there as they'll set themselves up for the Rahal straight. They're going to go double file here in the 6.
They are indeed, and it's going to be interesting to see. Alex King runs out wide, and they end up going 3 wide as they end up going really slow. Eric Ronenberg saying, thank you, I'll take that.
It's a party now. Back to double twitch for King on the brakes. Tucks in line between Clayton. And a great move there for Ronenberg to pick up 2.
Yeah, we saw it a little bit earlier on in this with the 2 wide through the kink, really slowing these cars down, and then the car behind him having a better run through it, as well as the draft really propels them into a great amount of acceleration into the corkscrew.
10 seconds on the clock, and we'll officially start the final lap as Henry Lieberman makes his way around. Right now, 1.6 seconds clear of Alexander Buehler. Who's even further clear, Giovanni Romano. No fight for the lead right now.
Yeah, no fight for the lead, no fight for any of the podium spots. This battle for 5th that we watched here, kind of the important one, which also stretches all the way back to 10th.
And don't forget as well, the battle for the final transfer spot, as well as Evan Campbell just picked up 2 spots on Justin Hall and Jason Lee into turn number 1 to put himself on provisional pole.
Fantastic stuff for Evan Campbell, having a fantastic race here. Justin Hall, Jason Lee, both nursing recovery drives as they are continuing to try to get back into the order.
Meanwhile, Henry Morris and Chris Flams also still under a blanket. And into turn 6, up the Rahal straight for the final time.
And they both make fantastic exits out of the kink, going into the corkscrew. The Rahal straight. And Morris trying not to get into the back of Brooks Clayton, trying to find a way around Brooks Clayton.
Try as he may, Alexander Buehler not able to get up to the back of Henry Lieberman, and it will be the number 67 entry who will take the win of the sprint race here this afternoon. And he will start the main event from 12th place after scoring max points. Meanwhile, the battle for 5th going to go nowhere through the final corner. So it's all a fight for 12th. Oh, they've crashed for 12th. Campbell's into the wall big time. And Jason Lee's going to sweep through to steal it from both.
Oh, man. An unfortunate final couple corners there for Justin Lee and Evan Campbell. That is heartbreaking.
Unreal. What has happened back here for 12th? Take a look back as Hall just took him out.
It kind of looks like it. I'm looking at it from that angle that you see there, and I rewinded it from that point, and it looks like Justin just kind of tracks into him, and unfortunately ends up pit turning him as a result. You see that straight line that Evan Campbell's running.
Campbell wasn't following the racing line, but he's not obligated to when you're in a fight for position like that.
He held, yeah.
You got to be aware of where your car is, man.
And I'm sure Justin Hall got the call from the spotters, but we'll see how all that shakes down into the feature race here in a moment.
Boy, oh boy, wild scenes here this afternoon, and we're going to look to take a rundown on how this race is going to pan on out here in just a little while as, well, the sprint race going to be bit of a hectic one at the end. Lieberman takes up the win with Buehler in second, Romano third, Bright fourth, and it's Ronenberg, King, Morse, Clayton, Flams, and Tucker for the top 10, with Carlton and now Jason Lee. A shock driver puts himself into the top 12, and he will start this race from pole. All that said, was still yet more to come. We're back to Moto Green Flag TV. Stay with us. The main event coming up soon.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where we are just moments away from kicking off racing action once again here this afternoon with the Weathertech Raceway. My name is Nolan Rempel alongside Acinni, and boy, what a race we had for the sprint just a few moments ago. It ended in dramas in that final battle for 12th, and now we're going to go at it again for an hour. It's going to be a good one if that sprint was anything to go by.
I would have to imagine it's going to be as action-packed, is going to be the word I'm going to choose there, for the whole feature race. With the inclusion of the Code 69s, I think it'll also bring for some interesting restarts. So we'll see how all that shakes down here in just a moment.
20 seconds to go. The battle for the lead tapered off a little bit there, but it's not going to be nearly as easy for Jason Lee. He'll be starting this race from pole position, so he's got his work cut out for him, and I'm sure the rest of the field behind more than eager to make sure that if he's going to take a good spot tonight, he is going to have to earn it. Well, the warm-up session will reach the checker flag, and we'll get a rundown now of what your official starting grid looks like for racing action once more. The 1 hour main event coming on up, and it looks like this. going to be one Jason Lee starting this race from pole position here this afternoon, alongside Tyler Carlton. Row number 2 headed up by Austin Tucker with Chris Flams right beside him. Row 3 then holds Brooks Clayton and Henry Morris. Row 4 with Alex King and Eric Ronneberg. Row 5 by Chris Flams, Giovanni Romano. And then the drivers that finish 1 and 2 in the main event. It is Alexander Bueller and Henry Lieberman, the sprint race winner. Justin Hall and Tyler Augustino are on row number 7, and from there it's Tyler Vietnan, Ryan Verhulst, Corey Barrett, Darren Bai, Josh Free, Greg Beckman, Ben Williams, Alexander Hammonds, Evan Campbell, Ryan Murphy, Alexander Klenk, Matt Verstuppen, Adam Joseph Milheim, Jordan Babcock, Carson Catlin, Blake Gambrell, Justin Brissy, Connor Daly, Ron Wolf, Jeremy Castro, Jake Kasich, and Chris Zofer brings up the rear.
A stacked grid. I'm very excited to see where all these drivers, especially a lot of our drivers who were in the top 5 for that sprint race, will find themselves at the end of an hour of racing here.
Who knows, right? It's could go either way depending on how that sprint race went. And the big question is, does Jason Lee get a good getaway, or is he going to flounder?
I want to hope that he has a great getaway. I want to hope that it's a nice, clean zipper down into the Andretti hairpin for the first couple of, at least the first couple of laps, where they have some good, clean racing as one giant pack from nose to tail. But now that I've said that, of course, my hopes will be dashed and we'll have something going on.
Oh, I'm sure we will, right? We're going to have some kind of drama here
Yes.
before the end of turn 1. I mean, why wouldn't we? It's Laguna Seca. It's kind of known for that.
Very true. But that's my hope. Do you expect Jason Lee to also have a great getaway, or?
I don't. It's been 50-50 this season from him. I mean, maybe. I mean, I hope so, but I don't know. Tyler Carlton has a tendency to be real good off the launches, not to mention Austin Tucker, who are right behind him, and Henry Morris up here as well. All drivers. You don't really want to find yourself underestimating as the field
Certainly.
will officially grid on up. And the revs build for 1 hour of main event racing. It's time to go, go, go. A great getaway from Jason Lee. Jason Lee stops the field and he trees them as he makes his way down towards turn number 1. An incredible launch there from the driver there, number 8, as he takes off.
A great launch for him, a great launch for Austin Tucker as well. Tyler Carlton getting stuck on the outside of the Andretti hairpin, therefore dropping him down to 3rd. Henry Morris, another individual, picking off Brooks Clayton in the opening couple corners as they go too wide, as Henry Morris gets a little unsettled there going into turn 3.
I swear, I thought he jumped the start. It looked like he jumped the start by a country mile there. And the fact that he was able to gather that thing together and actually pull away with that, unbelievable. That is the best getaway we've seen from Everett all this season long, and Darren Bai is upside down.
Unfortunately, he is upside down. I'm kind of curious how he got there. I think he just self-spun.
I am as well. We'll get a look on that in just a moment, but for now, the fight is on for the race lead as we make our way up over the rise, down into the corner, and in towards turn number 8 this afternoon. Do we get a crutch? Do we get anything? No, we're going to keep it green.
Yeah, we are clean and green. But Brooks Clayton, unfortunately, just after, is going to find a bit of a slide there in Rain's curve.
Look at Jason. Look at the getaway. I thought for sure that he jumped that. I mean, you don't just pull that off with nothing.
You don't, but he was just paired and waiting and had the reaction time for it. Thereby self-spins and just gets it just the right angle.
Dug the car in, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, that is all she wrote, but Giovanni Romano came by a little bit after and helped Brooks Clayton, or not Brooks Clayton, excuse me, Darren Bai flip himself upright.
I'm still in awe at that start. I mean, that was unbelievable. Incredible stuff there.
Absolutely.
Take one more look at this flip from Darren Bai. And this was self-inflicted.
Yeah, just got a little too early on the power. How it flipped on that right piece of grass. I don't know. That's just I think how the model is sometimes with these cars and how light they are, like you said. Too wide for these two.
Oh, trouble behind. We got one car going around. That's Brooks Clayton. Alexander Ham is collected as well. This could be a big mess here. Multiple cars spearing off the road. And looks like we're able to relatively gather them up. But a pretty big collision.
Yeah, it looked like Brooks Clayton got a little loose. And then Alexander Hammond just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Take a look back. This is into turn 6, and yep, Clayton just got hung up on the curb in there. And it was just on.
Another incident further back with Corey Barrett and Tyler Vietman, which is the cars we saw trying to, I think, maybe avoid that wreck.
Yeah, they checked up to avoid.
Yeah.
Boy, take a ride on board here with Ryan Verhulst and what the number 12 saw as he arrived on scene here.
Oh, man. Just trying to avoid cars. Seeing 3 backwards is never a good sign when you're looking at a bunch of headlights. Whether or not they're real headlights or fake headlights, it's still very concerning.
So now that we can officially settle into a rhythm here, after a bit of carnage in the opening stages, Lieberman taking Alex King there down into turn 5 and now up to 6. He saw Carlton make the look, but he did not commit to it.
No, he didn't. He has to have, I feel like, a pretty good run there, and the kink is always such a scary place, even when you have the run. But he's looking on the inside now.
It's a nerve-wracking series of corners that every time you hold your breath, because you can see the back end wanting to come around to them as they hit the crest.
Absolutely, because of how light these cars are, you lose all that traction because there's nothing pushing the car into the ground with the speed. So it's just kind of like you settle it into this kind of spot where it'll hang on for the corner, and then you let it settle, and then you keep going with the rest of it.
Oh, hold on. One car heavily into the wall. That is Corey Baird that has just gone screaming off the road, stage right.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think he is.
Evs by himself.
Yeah. Oh, hard hit into the wall there.
You got to remember with that crest as well that we were just talking about before we saw that, right? It's not just, the car's getting light. You're also stabbing the brakes. You come over the rise, so you're hitting the crest. The car gets light right as all of the weight shifts forward to the front of the car. And it just exacerbates an already terrible situation for you. We're side by side for the lead.
We are side by side for the lead as well, side by side. A couple cars back. As they go too wide through the kink. Everybody stays alive.
There we go.
Cars behind. We're going to have a great run. Henry Lieberman up the outside. 3 wide into the corkscrew.
Whoa, 4 wide for the lead into the corkscrew. We're able to gather them up, and somehow they don't come together. Holy cow, you're kidding me.
Fantastic awareness from literally all of those drivers to not crash that 3 wide into the corkscrew. Henry Lieberman picking up about 5 positions, I feel like, in that one corner.
Unbelievable stuff this afternoon, and we'll try to get a better look at this. Holy cow, that was that's poor timing, isn't it?
There we go.
I mean, kind of, but this will be a better look here. Coming up over the rise. There's 3. And then here's 4. I think they maybe didn't go 4 wide, but they certainly tried to.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it was 4 wide, or at least 4 lanes were being presented where cars were trying to drive. As Tyler Carlton is just dropping down the order, unfortunately, trying to find the line to get back up into a rhythm here, but he's found himself being used for a draft and then left behind to not be able to make his own way up.
All right, this will tell the story. Did they go 4 wide, coming up the hill. There's 3. Watch King on the left into 16. No, they did not go 4 wide, but they certainly attempted to.
They certainly had 4 lanes of cars all trying to go down the corkscrew.
Holy cow. Unreal fight for the lead there. Like you say, Henry Lieberman coming out on top. One of the big winners. Flams nearly takes out Tyler Carlton. All of this, by the way, the safety car window is officially open.
Yes, it has opened, I think, for about a lap at this point. But yeah, Henry Lieberman making a great call there, trying to get around Jason Lee and Tyler Carlton, who both had a compromise exit out of the kink. We've seen it in the feature, or we've seen it in the heat. We'll see it a bunch in the feature as well, where these cars that go too wide through the kink lose a lot of speed going up that uphill, and those behind them both have a better exit and a little bit of that draft. As Evan Campbell working his way back up the order after that unfortunate finish with the sprint race.
And you see Hammonds right now alongside with Ron Wolf into turn number 1. And just able to secure that run there with the likes of Evan Campbell just behind Matt Verstappen, Ryan Verhulst also in the fray. While this battle's going on, they got to fight for 6th, picking up as well.
Now the groups of cars, Chris Flam diving down the inside of Tyler Carlton, having a fantastic exit there. Chris Bright looking to make the pick as well.
Boy, Carlton is getting bullied right now. That's now 3 spots he's lost in just 2 corners. It's going to be 4 here.
It is, unfortunately, just, I think he's been offline as cars have gone around him for all these corners, and then he keeps going offline. Alex Clank spun in the corkscrew.
Oh!
And tips Alexander Hammonds.
May have caught Hammonds there as well as they came up over the rise. As, yikes, just weighing hot.
Avoids Justin Hall. Then as he goes to try to get back going, flips Alexander Hammonds.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And now all 3 of those drivers back down the order from where they were before. Chris Flams, defending for Chris Bright, Austin Tucker.
I wonder if maybe Bright's trying to push Flams up to the front to get back up there with the top 5.
I would have to imagine that's part of the plan.
I feel like when you're this far back, though, it doesn't really work when you got this many corners. I think they got to wait for code 69 if they want to really get back up there and into the fray.
Yeah, I think that'll be the thing that gives them that opportunity there.
Oh boy, well, one car goes off and, well, monkey see, monkey do, right? Everyone goes flying off the road in sympathy. Now for the lead, fights on for the top spot. Jason Lee wants his lead back. Lieberman trying to fend him off. He's not able to do so. Lee easily secures into the corkscrew.
Yeah, had a great run there, going up into the kink, and that just is such a good spot if you have the ability to have the draft. Chris Bright, unfortunately, spinning at the, just self-spinning at the exit of the corkscrew.
Already, we're almost the entire length of a sprint race in, and it's hard to believe that already so much time has passed, right? I mean, the fact that we've already been through a whole sprint race's worth of action just about, I mean, it's unreal to think about. It kind of shows just how much can happen in such a short span of time.
Certainly, and with how well most of these drivers know this track, it is one that they're going to take a lot of risks on, and that's why I think we're seeing as many battles like we do here between Max Verstappen as well as Alex Clank going into the Andretti hairpin.
It's also one of those tracks where we actually have some good pass opportunities, right? I mean, the Red Bull Rings National Layout last season, I mean, there's not really a lot of good points to pass them, right? I mean, turn 1 is an obvious one.
Not really.
But it's a very awkward kink. I mean, turn 2 is a corner where any run up to it gets nullified by turn 1, and then, well, every other corner, it's one-line sweepers. It's very difficult to get a momentum run going for you. This is a track, though, you got a lot of hard braking zones with these cars, and it does allow for you to make these bigger lunges like we're seeing here.
Yeah, that is certainly, I think, the case. All the good corners that I can think of for the Red Bull Ring aren't in the national layout for those sort of corners, as Clank Alexander Hammond's running too wide through the kink. Both trying to get around. Evan Campbell.
Should be 3. It will be 3. Oh, Campbell gets dumped! Campbell off the road into the fence.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if...
Oh, and Hammond's is over!
Yeah.
Alexander Hammonds has somehow rolled the car.
He self-spins it. And then, much like Darren Bai we saw earlier, we'll see it here in a moment, grass just put the foot out.
Now, that one I can see, right? Because that's a lot of dead grass mixed with sand as well. And much like how we're going to be seeing at Brands Hatch next week at a Paddock Hill Bend, when a car goes in a downhill slope at a right angle like that, especially with these lightweight cars, they have a tendency to get up and over. And I'm willing to bet we're going to be seeing that a few times at Brands Hatch next week.
I would have to imagine so. With those corners, as well as kind of that lead up through the back sector, I think we'll see a good number of cars probably make a roll or two as we go over some of those off-camber corners.
Heck, I mean, Paddock Hill Bend is a place notorious for rollovers with vehicles that go in like that. I mean, heck, we see Formula cars do it. We see Legends cars do that. Club cars do that. We see Formula trucks do that. Semi-trucks that race there have tipped it over in that corner. No one is immune to it. And meanwhile, Henry Lieberman thought about going after Jason Lee, decided against it.
Yeah, decided he didn't have enough of a run there and didn't want to cause any more commotion than we've seen in the corkscrew.
Oh, well, Austin Tucker doesn't seem to mind, as he just straight lines it, well, as much as he can straight line it, I guess.
I think he just missed the braking point and got a little squirrely, and then decided to take the direct route.
Quarter distance achieved in race in action here for race number 8 of the Beer League. There's been a naming theme going on for all of the races this season. All of them have been named after Darren Bai. Why, I have no idea, but for those that may not have noticed, today's race is dubbed officially as Darren sponsored this race, not named after Darren. I think and yet ironically, it's the first race this season where Darren is in the name twice.
Yes. And also, I guess, has more of a hand in it than any of the other races? You're talking to a guy that's confused, so I mean... Okay, that's fair. I think I'm also equally as confused.
I didn't even notice the pattern until I raced for it. I was like, huh. So this is the game we're playing this season, are we? Things have kind of gotten a little bit more orderly now from the initial get-go. I feel like Lieberman's more focused on fuel saving right now, and it might be a similar... Okay, well, never mind. Josh Freed wants to go.
You had to say something.
Yeah,
you were doing good until you said something. He gets around Tyler Agostino. I'm going to agree with you. Henry Lieberman, I think, is definitely on a fuel-saving strategy. My guess is also probably the same for Alex King, and maybe Henry Morris as well. The top group.
Agostino, meanwhile, trying to go around the long way of Josh Freed.
Of course, in that defensive line.
As well as that, just behind them, Alexander Klenk has made a move on Mac for Stupid.
Working his way back up the order.
This pair, Ron Wolf and Matt Williams, they've been working together here, trying to catch up to Justin Hall and Co. to get into the battle there, but the bottom draft, and again, it just doesn't work when you're at a track like this.
Yeah, there's so few sections where you can really link up for an extended period of time, especially if your car behind is just all over the road, trying to keep that car going the right direction.
Still no sign of our first Code 69 of the night as well, by the way. So we are, I mean, we're having a great run here this afternoon, but you can tell that drivers are definitely settling into kind of the meat of this race, so to speak. Getting prepared to make tracks where they can, as Chris Flam's now in a battle with Tyler Augustino. Double file into the corkscrew, but it's a fight that quickly gets so sorted. And Jason Lee has just lost a couple.
Yeah, Jason Lee, I think, unfortunately had a bad exit out of the corkscrew, or really into the corkscrew. That cost him that position. And he's not trying to get.
Ooh, they kind of pushed him off the track there a little bit.
Yeah, Alex King trying to keep that position that he gained. Henry Morris trying to take advantage of both of these cars going pretty slow.
Just takes one spot to change, right? And all of a sudden, it's a game of musical chairs.
Yes.
Take a look on how he lost the lead. It looked pretty steady to me for a while there. Oh, he cut across it. You got to slow down.
Yep. He cut across it, got a little loose on the braking. Like you said, where that weight transfer is on top of the lightness of the car as it's going over the hill. Caught him out that time.
So Jason Lee had a brief slowdown penalty to serve. That's why we saw him all of a sudden drop off on all of that pace, as he was trying to make sure that he didn't get penalized for that.
Yes, and unfortunately, I think that's also going to cost him maybe a position or two more, as Henry Morris and Eric Lonenberg are both trying to now figure out how can they get around this car that is now magically slower. Maybe not magically, but slower.
Freed, Flams, Augustino are meanwhile all in lockstep as, someone else has just gone off the road up there. You saw a lot of the dust being kicked up, and Alex King all of a sudden to the point.
Yeah, Henry Lieberman taking his turn at the straight line, the corkscrew.
Ah, that explains it.
Or his, yep, he'll have to serve his slowdown penalty as well. Curious to see if Alex King decides to also join in on the straight line, the corkscrew pattern that's been happening for these drivers. Here's a few in for pit stops.
No sign of Code 69. These are scheduled stops, and look at how quickly Carlton catches the back here of Flams. Actually tags him on the way in.
Tags him on the way in, but keeps them both out of the wall or spun the wrong direction. It's a hard place to get back going the right direction on that entry to the pit lane.
So the pack working their way up and around as Beckman and Moore continue to have their own little runs. And just behind them, Alex King, Henry Lieberman, and Moore all set to scramble.
That is the case for it. Super curious when these drivers are making their trip down pit lane.
Can't be too long, right?
It cannot be. If we have the first few find their way to pit lane, so I'm assuming over the next couple laps we'll see them come in, depending on how much they've fuel saved. Find Jason Lee.
Here we go.
Portion of this race. All but Henry Morris make their way in.
They kind of called it there, as Alex King is the first one in. And like you say, Henry Morris staying out. Augustino stays out. Tucker stays out. Oh, Ben Williams caught for speeding on the way in.
No.
Tough break.
I think he's been having a rough feature. We've seen him be a little bit loose in other parts of this racetrack before then. As he finds his way on pit lane.
And right about here is where he got that penalty. So I thought maybe he got hit from behind, but nope. He just maybe got spooked by the car right behind him.
That, I don't know that he was maybe not paying attention to how far he's in the pit lane. I'm not sure he was paying attention to his pit speed coming into that. That'll also do you in if you're spooked by the car behind and not paying attention to your pit speed, I should say.
Henry Morris continues to lead with a 4-second lead over Agostino and Tucker. Those are the 3 cars that need to come down to pit road. Giovanni Romano technically needs to come in as well, as Romano started his race from pit road. So the top 4 all have yet to make their first stops of the day, and this is, I feel like, definitely going to be a 2-stop based on what we're seeing here. Oh boy, Josh Freed having some connection problems there. You can see how much he's kind of flashing around. That's why we see 9th and 10th jumping around so much of the board for now, is because Freed is struggling to stay with that connection. How about that? Where everybody else comes down to pit road, Henry Morris takes the fastest lap of the race.
Man, Henry Morris now finding his pace that he is free of cars in front of him to fuel save off of. But I think he'll be coming in probably this next lap. I can't imagine he's saved more than 2 laps of fuel, as those that did the fuel saving along with him are all coming in pit lane this time by.
Yeah, I like the call, though, right? I mean, if you know you're quicker than a lot of other drivers and they're all coming to pit road, you know you got the fuel. Yeah, go an extra lap or 2. Try to get some extra speed out there. I mean, he just showed that he's got the pace because he just set the fastest lap of the race. So he could very well come out in front pretty secure with the lead.
That is very true. It depends on how long he'll end up in pit lane, which I would have to imagine is probably about the same 17-second pit stop time that we're seeing out of most of these drivers. So let's see when he comes back in where he ends up.
Several cars still scrapping it out with one another there. You see Morris through the corkscrew and now fighting his way towards pit road.
Getting close to Ben Williams, it looks like, after Ben Williams has served that slowdown, or probably that stop and hold. He does dive in this time.
No surprises there. Morris is in. Pit stop run usually around 39 to 40 seconds in total. We'll see where this puts him.
Yeah. Should be not too bad. I think he'll be probably coming out 3rd or 4th, about where he was. Maybe 2nd or 3rd, I should say, depending on how long he spends in the pit lane. As Henry Lieberman and the other cars behind him, Alex King, Eric Ronenberg, Jason Lee, all passing by the pit box or pit lane entry right now.
Here we see them making their way down to the front straightaway. Morris is away. And just now gets off of the pit limiter. And now ripping down the front straightaway. Here comes Lieberman, 2 seconds. This is going to be real close here coming out of pit road. There are the leaders headed into turn 1, but they got a long way to go around. Morris can take a shorter but tighter line through turn 1, and Morris out with a 2-second advantage.
A fantastic advantage for him. I think we'll probably see him, try to run away as far as he can to try to keep cars behind without too much of a draft or ability to catch back up.
That was a great stop for Henry Morris, and I'll tell you what, we don't often see the overcut strategy work, but he played that to perfection right there. Because these guys, we've seen it before, once you get out of that draft range, even if you're bump driving, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah, if you're within the kind of half second to a second gap to the car behind you, they get a little bit of a draft, and then they can just come back right back up to where you are, regardless of how fast you are in any of the straights here. Especially with the way the corkscrew, so much Ron Wolf there, along with Ryan Verhulst, I believe. With the way that the drafting is working here at Weathertech Laguna Seca, definitely a hard game to get away from the cars behind you if you have nobody to draft in front of you. So you can kind of see it now on the relative over the past couple laps, or at least this outlap, about 2 to 3 tenths there lost from Henry Morris to Henry Morris to Henry Lieberman, but not as much as he would get if he were, say, within that drafting range of the cars behind him.
Fed, I'm going to ask you a question here when it comes to the race we've gotten here. We're kind of we're into the meat of this, kind of more just waiting for the battles to pick on up again throughout the racetrack as we see Ron Wolf again back to the inside. Ryan Verhulst, like a little bit of fight here going on for 13th, but of course these guys randomly pick the car every season. The season before this, it was the BMW M2. The season before that, you had the Spec Racer Force. This season it was the Legends.
Yep.
You got to pick, if you had to pick one car, because obviously we don't get a say in that, but if you had to pick one car, what would it be for the season?
For the season?
It could be a category like GT4, but they don't tend to go higher than that.
Okay, so it's not usually fast. I would almost do a radical SRP season.
I don't know if they go for that. I mean, I'd like to see a radical season. I mean, the SR10 is a really fun car to drive, but...
Well, the SR10 is a really fun car to drive. The SR8 is still free. So there's still that option
true.
as well. Yeah. And that's what I was thinking more when I said the radical. Was more the SR8 that's the free one.
Yeah. Has it always been free? I can't remember if that was one of the cars I had to pay for.
I think it became free when they came out with the SR10.
Okay. So I had to pay for it, and I got screwed. Understood.
Yeah. I think they give...
that sounds about right.
I have no idea what they did.
It's like when I bought the HPD, and then like 2 weeks later they announced the Delar PG17 that were retired. And saying, "Oh, come on! I just bought this thing." By the way, HPD, by and large, one of the best cars you could drive on iRacing. So fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Shockingly easy to get a grip with as well.
Yes. I'm so excited for the Portimao 1,000 kilometers this year that uses those. I'm really excited to see them back in a special way.
I'm glad they brought them to AI racing. You can finally actually race them there now.
With that, they did LMP1s this most recent season. So, two very fun cars we don't really see a whole lot of in officials anymore. I'd say HPDs have come back with that. Well, HPDs have come back with the Proto GT series along with the GT1s and GT2s.
I think the car I would pick...
what would you pick?
Either the Formula Vs or the Skip Barber Formula 2000s.
Oh, dude, the Skip Barber Formula 2000s will be a riot with this group.
The Skippies are an interesting car, right? Because, I mean, they're open wheel cars, but they don't drive anything like any other open wheel car. Hold on, we got a battle for the leader. We'll get back to that in a moment. Alex King with a big launch to the inside of Morse, and he's going to overshoot.
But he keeps it, as both Henry Morse and Henry Lieberman were busy fighting with themselves as well.
But yeah, I mean, the Skippies, it's unlike any other car, right? Because, I mean, unlike stuff like the Formula... I mean, the Ray F1600, I guess, would be the closest one, right? But, I mean, you can just chuck those Skippies in and, like, drift them, power slide them. You can't do that with any other open-wheel car. It feels like you can actually take a knock with them before you actually have to come to pit road.
Certainly. I think it's definitely the most durable Formula car that they have in the iRacing service, as well as, I think, one of the most fun to learn on, more so than either of the really rookie cars. The Formula 2000 is such a good car to learn really how to move a car and how to get it to react a very predictable way.
It is the open-wheel version of the MX-5, I think is a great way to put it.
Yes, absolutely, I would agree with that.
Who knows? Maybe they'll listen and take our suggestions to heart. We'll see.
It's possible. But it could be something entirely different. Then maybe go the whole different direction.
I mean, heck, what all was just released this last season, right? It could very well be one of the newer cars that we're going to be getting.
Dude, the Ferrari 296 Challenge that we just got?
That
would be...
I don't think they'll go for that.
This one.
I think that's a bit too quick for beerly taste. They like to keep something that's slow, so there's not so much of a big learning curve with it.
Yeah, and it's designed as a more of a learner car, but definitely I think it's more fast than a lot of the cars that Beer League will drive. It's more of a GT3 adjacent, speed-wise.
Of course, we'll have to make our broadcast pick as well, and we'll be able to do that once we figure out what the car is, right? Because I'm sure you and I both have ideas. We have many ideas, and those ideas are dangerous ideas. But obviously, which idea we commit to, that heavily depends on what they pick, what we run.
And what we get told we can also race, because we can also give them some wild ideas that they then turn down because they aren't ready for VIR Patriots course.
He's still Slinger Speedway. Your time will come, I'm sure.
Alex King holding on to the lead of this very fantastically. going on about cars.
I think this is the longest time we've gone in one season without a code 69 yet. I mean, we are well past the halfway point now. We still have not gotten one. I mean, it is allowing for this race to kind of really come to life in of itself. And it is worth noting that while, yes, Morse got out there in front with that 2-second advantage, he was run down eventually. Potentially a sign that maybe the overcut strategy not as viable as he thought.
Well, he was also on an island. You know, once he got out with that overcut, he was by himself, and these cars seem to just both come to life as well as work so much better with the pack around you, either in front of you, pulling you along, and behind you, pushing you with some of the draft. There's so many options, I feel like, with other cars. When you're kind of by yourself, you're kind of just on how fast can I go in a vacuum, and then I hope it's faster than they can go as a group, which usually, from what we've seen at least, it seems to not always play out that way in the favor of the kind of lone driver who's all by himself.
Well, I mean, you say that. Alex King is pulling a pretty sizable gap up here. I mean, he just broke out over half a second in that last sector alone. I mean, King is moving.
That he is. I'm curious if he's going to have to do more fuel, though, than maybe the rest of the field is doing right now.
Maybe. You see the battle for second behind him.
Yeah, I would say Henry Lieberman running wide, Henry Morris getting around him. I wonder if also it's not an issue somewhere in there with Henry Lieberman getting either really loose and not able to keep the car as locked in with the rest of the group, or another problem there that's creating that gap.
Checking out some of the battles further down the field. Giovanni Romano, Matt Verstappen, and Greg Beckman in a battle for 16th through 18th. They just exchange hands further down the field. You've also got a fight between Clink and Carlton, loosely with Flams up the road. Hammond's in a bit of a loose battle with Wolf and Verhulst just behind them. We just saw as well Ben Williams make the pass on Corey Barrett, and these are guys that are pretty far down the field as well. But right now, the biggest pack is still very much this front-running group.
Yep, and Henry Morris finding his way right behind. We look on board with Jason Lee going into the corkscrew.
And Lee still very much a driver that is in the fight here. And I mean, good work for Jason Lee, right? I mean, he had that absolutely phenomenal launch. And if I'm being honest, that launch is what has helped him to stay up here even now, because that meant that when the field was able to run him back down, it was not nearly as much of a freight train as we normally see for our pole sitters.
Certainly not. I think also just he's learned so much in being kind of in that pole position, as well as being with his top five and how to throw the car around and keep it in the draft with all of these drivers. So they go 2x2 going into the Andretti Bearpin here.
And nearly 3 there as well. Lieberman trying to make a run at it here as the pack is just slicing and dicing here. And like I say, right, one car gets on the line. That's all it takes for everybody to go for a shuffle here. And now that they're back in line, this is how they'll remain for at least the next couple laps here. As well as that, Ben Williams is spun in the round. And he'll lose out to Carter Daly and Corey Barrett.
Yeah, just got a little loose, I think, on the brakes there, trying to not run into Connor Daly.
Oh boy, wow, way overshot that.
Yeah.
Got to fight as well. Chris Flams right to the back bumper of Alexander Clank here in the scrap for 8th.
Alex Clank having a pretty great, I would say, recovery drive. Now trying to fend off Chris Flams from passing through one of the many corners. Tyler Carlton, one of the people we saw up at the top of this, still hanging out in the top 10. So I think he's got plenty of work there for him as well to keep up and get a good points finish.
The front runners remain in lockstep here. We're not too far away from our second pit stop way to open it up as well. Oh, there we go. Alexander King giving up the lead to Eric Ronenberg. But yeah, that's that window. It's only about 5-6 laps away here before it opens up and you can go to the end.
Yeah, that is going to be the thing we're going to be watching here in the next 5-6 laps is if we get a code 69 in that window and when do people come in for those final pit stops. We are well within, I think, the window overall to get them to a finish. if they stop anywhere from now until they run out of fuel. The question is how much fuel are they going to push it to, and therefore how much time are they going to not have to spend on pit road because of how much fuel they've saved up to this point or used. In addition to all that, Alexander Buehler, Tyler Agostino have also found their way onto this pack of 5 for the lead and are now taking the fight to Jason Lee.
And Jason Lee tucks the line right behind Alexander Buehler. Quite a bit coming up here on green flag here for the next little while. Quite a few leagues are off this time of year. Of course, Lomas Sorrell not returning until July. The Average Joe Sim Racing League is the only one in contention tomorrow. Speed Cup Series is also in their current off-season, and Premier Sim Racing Sim Game Expo Truck Series back for more this coming week. This coming week, as Chris Flams has gone off at the corkscrew. The big news coming on up, and I'll tell you what, it's been a busy weekend. There's been a lot that we've been doing behind the scenes. A lot of leagues all of a sudden showing interest, as you see Flams at a little bit of a slide. But most interestingly, the Bull Racing League with their Lightning Series, we did the opener. We were just filling in this past weekend. There goes Morse for second. And, well,
fancy.
We're on board for the whole season now. We're back at Atlanta Motor Speedway this Friday night with them. So, boy, all things change. And also got an Endurance Series coming up shortly. Expect preliminary announcements on that coming on up shortly. And as well as that, more Sunday night action. Might be having a bit of a shake-up there. And we'll keep you posted on that over the next couple of weeks as well. So stick around. I mean, we got a lot coming on up. A lot of big roster changes over the next week or two going to be announced.
Absolutely. It sounds like a lot of fantastic racing and fantastic commentary for all the individuals involved there as well. So hopefully as good racing action as we've been kind of seeing for this battle for the lead pretty much the entire race.
And I got 2 teammates leading the way as well. Ronenberg and Henry Morris for Team Legendary. It's going to be interesting to see how they look to battle that amongst themselves or keep the field behind. We also saw a swap for 4th as Buehler got around King.
Yeah, Buehler finally making his way up to the top of the order, starting in pit lane as he usually does for the feature, and has worked his way up to 4th. Tyler Agostino being the first to pull the trigger alongside Alex Klenk for that final pit stop, which tracks for time 40 minutes even elapsed. So Tyler Carlton, Chris Flams, Alexander Hammonds also all in for pit lane for their final stops as well.
Morse again resets the fast lap of the race. Now puts down a lap time quicker than that of his qualifying lap. That is the level that we are starting to hit here. Agostino, Hammonds, and more all into pit road. As the field looking set to do what the field does best. And all of this, by the way, we've only got 4.5 minutes to go before that caution window closes. We're rapidly running out of time for Code 69 to come out.
And that's going to be heartbreaking for all those that have pitted now if we do get one.
I actually think it'll be better for them. They could probably jump the leaders when they come down to pit road.
That's very true. Well, yeah, but they also have less time lost in pit lane, I suppose. I think it depends on when that comes out, where the leaders are in relation and all that. But either way, it'll make for some good racing regardless of when and if and when it comes out. Henry Morse also not setting a qualifying time, but going faster than anybody set in the qualifying times.
Showing that car very much had the ability to go to the front had he chosen to qualify, as Morse into pit road, and he's joined by a few.
He is joined by not many from at least the lead pack, as he is the only one to kind of join in.
Jordan Babcock has been disqualified.
That he has.
What on earth has happened to Babcock?
I'm super curious.
No!
Oh.
He missed his box, and he was reversing down pit road. You can't do that.
No.
Oh, that's a shame. I've seen that happen a few times. It happens, right? I mean, but that counts as driving backwards, and it doesn't like it when you do that.
No,
That's
iRacing very strict on.
Do want to point out that disqualification has been manually cleared by league administration, but it automatically resets to the pits. The damage is done.
Yeah, and I think he was having a very solid race for most of this afternoon and this evening's race, but I think that'll probably put him back at the end of the order before some of the cars who have jumped to pit lane as a result of their various incidents they've had.
Only 17 minutes to go before this race comes to a close. Here we go! Code 69 is coming out! End of this lap!
Yes, and everybody's diving into pit lane.
I mean, are we surprised?
No, now is the time to do it. If you don't do it now, and you have yet to, it is, I'd say, no better time.
Almost literally at the last minute. That Code 69 coming out. That's the only one we're going to get, because they're going to go green after that window closes.
Certainly. I think it'll be a mad dash to the finish that I think will put Henry Morse on the lead of the restart, as he is the first one to come in under green flag running.
There is Henry Morse working his way down the pit straightaway. And he is going to do just that.
Alex Bueller winning the pit lane shootout. And Jason Lee as well, both having faster pit box times than Eric Ronenberg or Alex King.
And all of this with now only 15 minutes to go, and this race is entering a new dimension. We're back in a moment with more. We are under the caution for the first time tonight. We'll see you in a moment on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Getting set to come back to Green Flag Racing here in just a moment as we're off at the final corner. Green flag drops and the lone code 69 of the race is over. 10 minutes on the docket. Morse takes off towards turn number 1, but Lieberman quickly running them back down.
Yeah, with 10 minutes to go, it's going to be a sprint race to the finish here. Flanning out 2-3 wide. In the background there of the Andretti hairpin.
Oh, and
down.
Alex King, one of the main front runners, is down and out, and that is going to ruin his race tonight.
Yeah, not a lot of time to come back from that. I think it was just a
self-induced
incident.
Sorry, more trouble behind, and Darren nearly got flipped over again.
Unfortunate set of incidents. We were talking about how good the racing had been up until this point on the restart or on the race starts, but they all saved it for the final 10 minutes, it looks like.
Well, I mean, hey, we didn't know they were going to be all packed up like this into the final 10 minutes. I think everybody's kind of in a mad scramble. They know there's not a lot of time left. You got well under 10 laps to go. You got to make a move now, especially if you're towards the back trying to get to the front. Lieberman, though, trying to push Morse clear so they can form a breakaway duo from the main pack behind.
Yeah, I think that's Lieberman is trying to keep Tony Morris in front of him and Alexander Buehler behind him and work out where he wants to be on this podium after that. So far, seems to have been lining it up properly to do so.
But of course, Buehler still very much within drafting distance. So is Jason Lee. And it won't take long before they can get up to these guys as well, as we're in the final minutes of this race.
Yeah, be interesting to see what calls they make going into this. Alexander Buehler looking to find room here. Let's look further back in the field. Chris Clank, Alexander Hammonds, 3 wide along with Tyler Carlton. Tyler Agostino who wins out of that.
And still, they're side by side with Agostino pushed out wide. Clank trying to hold him to the outside. Tyler Vietnan given a black flag after a collision, and that puts him over the incident limit.
That it does. A collision with him. A collision that he got rear-ended by Connor Daly. Trying to avoid Daly's spin. Should see here in a moment. Connor Daly spinning with Alex King there.
Oh.
Yeah, backs into him. And that pushes Tyler Vietnan over that limit.
Meanwhile, everyone else remains in lockstep. There's Flabs, Carlton, Hammonds, and more, all trying to scrap it out. Justin Hall squeezing Romano in there at the corkscrew. No contact, though, just enough room left, and will remain facing the right direction. So we're now down to 7 minutes left to go in this race. Half a second back is Henry Lieberman. Trying to close down Morse with less than 5 laps to go. We got one car around. It's Ron Wolf.
Yeah, Ron Wolf unfortunately down in the wrong direction. Getting spun in the corner by a lunging Ryan Verhulst. You see it here a little bit right as they come into the corner. You see that impact there. And he is around.
and back to the pit road.
Unfortunate.
6 minutes, an estimated 5 laps or less in this one. Top two have broken away, third and fourth on a breakaway as well. Meanwhile, Hammonds, Romano, Hall, and Flams all under blanket. This is the battle for 9th through 12th.
And they're 2 by 2 going into, I would say, one of the hardest corners to go too wide in. But they've made it work here at the beer league before. Looks like they've done it again.
Just barely.
Flams runs a little wide, but they got it. They got through.
Meanwhile, Augustino lunging for the inside of Eric Ronenberg. Easy move for him. Meanwhile, Hall trying to do the same on Flams, though he is not successful. So one pass succeeded, the other one a failure. And Hall will have to reorganize and try again. Now Ronenberg trying to cut back on Augustino here in the fight for 6th.
Yeah, this battle for 6th between Augustino and Ronenberg, neither really want to give each other the position or seem to have a whole lot of desire to work together. So they're kind of losing, I think, a little bit of time to Alex Clank in front of them as these two are running away from Alexander Bueller and Jason Lee.
5 minutes to go in race in action this afternoon. Who will be on top at the end? That is, of course, the question on everyone's lips. Morse, I'm sure thinks it'll be him, but Lieberman wants to upset the run, and they got a 1.4 second gap now on Bueller back behind. They got room to fight this out if Lieberman wants to make a lunge.
I think Lieberman might be waiting until that last minute. So he's giving the look.
Hammonds into the back of Carlton and nearly spun him out of turn 4.
Yeah. Giovanni Romano looking to not spin Tyler Carlton as well as he gets around.
Meanwhile, Lieberman made the move on Morse into turn 6 for the lead. Morse now running second fiddle. Ooh, careful there. Really trying to keep nice and close. And Lieberman the big twitch. That could give the run back to Morse.
Morse choosing to lift. There's not a whole lot of grip for these cars to find in those corners, unfortunately. So that twitch there, we've seen it out of Lieberman a little bit earlier in this race. And these tires are nice and warm. I'm curious to see how much more we'll see out of Lieberman in the final couple corners here. If he has another big twitch like that, or if he can keep it planted to work with Henry Morse to keep this 1-2 victory here. Depending on who's on the top step there.
Drafts right up to the back bumper. Not able to get a lunge in there this time by Justin Hall has gone around out of the final corner. He has now dropped out of these positions. And a tough break for him. Meanwhile, Augustino dropped out one as well by Eric Ronenberg.
Eric Ronenberg, Tyler Augustino still fighting it out over P6. The leaders there, bump drafting to keep each other going the right direction and keep that gap that they built up to Alexander Bueller and not slip away. Now Lieberman's at the front.
Every single fight always tends to go right down to the last wire here. You can see Morse and Lieberman really fighting it out as they desperately try to seek any kind of momentum on each other. They've built up the gap they had on Alexander Bueller behind once more. Oh, and a twitch there for Morse, but he seems unfazed.
Wrangles it back in before it gets too out of hand. We saw Lieberman do it the lap before. Seems like a very easy place with these tires once they're worn for them to get a little bit more loose than they anticipate. And having to work that wheel just a little bit harder to try to keep it from going the wrong direction.
2 minutes and 2 laps to go from the Weathertech Raceway Laguna Seca this afternoon. Again, the Nerf bars locked together as Morse shoves Lieberman clear, and this is, you can definitely tell, right? He is trying to make sure that he's got the momentum to work with him here. Evan Campbell into pit road, may have short-fielded the car. Augustino back to the inside of Ronenberg.
Yeah, I think he short-fielded that car. Augustino, getting around Ronenberg, but I'd say battle further down, Max Verstappen and Ryan Verhulst going pretty wide there. Ryan Murphy background of that shot going off the road.
Oh no! Oh no! Morse with the problem! Morse with the big problem! He has dropped off from the front runners, and Morse now dropping like a stone! Morse had a spin!
He had a spin. He bumped into Henry Lieberman out of turn 3 and got loose as a result.
Oh, flew too close to the sun. Well, that should settle the fight for the win now. Now it's just a fight to see who will finish in 5th.
It'll also be a fight to see who finished in 3rd. Alex Plank, Jason Lee also still in a pretty tight battle. But this battle for 5th, I think, has way more cars involved as they go too wide through the corkscrew.
Including the driver that was just fighting for the race lead less than 60 seconds ago. Ronenberg fighting with his teammate as Morse drives back up to 6th. Now he has to get around Augustine if he wants to retain a top 5.
He's got a couple laps to do it in. Not many. I think we are on white flag this time by.
White flag eaves out. As the field cycles around for the final time, Bueller is now within 1.3 seconds. Is that enough time to run down Henry Lieberman? We'll find out in a moment.
Henry Lieberman having a big shake up at the front there.
This fight for 5th still the one to watch.
Absolutely.
And as Augustino maintains the run to fend off Henry Morse and co. It's going nowhere fast, and we work this trap for the final time.
Henry Morse on the outside of Tyler Augustino going into turn 5. Keep it too wide, which means that they're both going to be slow going up this hill of the corkscrew. And Alexander Hammonds, Eric Ronenberg, all looking for a piece of the pie there. Oh, Henry Morse going out wide. Keep it together.
Coming on up here into the corkscrew for the final time. So close, looking for 3. Hammonds can't get the lunge in there. Morse around the outside of Augustino. They don't come together. Morse quickly cuts across the nose of the 69 car. And this is a fight that looks like it is all but decided. Bueller is closing, but he is not going to close nearly quick enough. And Henry Lieberman will take a walk-off win. And what a drive to put Lieberman on top for race number 8 of the Beer League.
Alexander Klein coming on 3rd. Jason Lee missing out by a few tenths as this 5-6 car battle crosses the line.
Ooh, Verstappen kicks the tail end out. That lets Ryan Verhulst get through. I think he may have been shuffled out. Greg Beckman in the drag race with Brooks Clayton, and Beckman gonna hang on. And all of that comes to a dramatic end as the festivities commence down at turn 1.
As they're wont to do. I think Verstappen was loose of his own accord. When I was looking back at it, it's all these cars.
Just go crunch.
As they do, in fact.
Look at your race leader.
Oh my goodness.
Gassing it up while he's upside down and turning the car that way.
I mean, the wheels are touching a part of the ground that way.
I guess. Hey, how about that? Look at that. You know what? That deserves a little round of applause.
Yes.
There we go. Good job. A little golf clap for that one.
Yes.
Well, I've learned something new today. You can, in fact, flip over a Legends 34 Coupe by itself if it's upside down like it was a monster truck.
You got to get the angle just right, it looks like. But once you do, it's very possible.
Yeah, you got it. It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Well, all that said and done, we'll take a rundown of your official post-race results here this afternoon with a wild one from the WeatherTech Raceway. Henry Lieberman comes home number 1 this afternoon ahead of Alexander Bueller. Clank picks up 3rd with the lead back at 4th. Henry Morse is in 5th with Augustino in 6th. Then it's Hammonds, Ronenberg, Romano, and Flams for the top 10.
In 11th, Austin Tucker takes home that 11th position. Tyler Carlton in at 12th. Ryan Verhulst is 13th. Greg Beckman 14th. Brooks Clayton 15th. back for Verstappen after an unfortunate kind of self-spin at the end there, costing those couple positions. Alex King, Chris Bright, Ryan Murphy, and Ben Williams round out your top 20.
Moving on down into 21st place, it's Justin Hall with Carson Kaplan in 22nd. Mel Hunt found himself in 23rd with Darren By upside down early in the race. He finishes on the lead lap, though, in 24th. Connor Daly, Campbell, and Vietnam, the last cars on the lead lap, with Gambrel, Wolf, and Barrett all failing to finish this race.
Unfortunate.
And then, of course, Babcock, Freed, Brissy, Castro, Kasich, and Zofer close out the field. And, well, that will take us straight back and around to the drivers who will be the ones that give us a chit-chat here at the end of the afternoon, as we'll look to start it off first and foremost with the one that comes on number 1 here. If we can get a word in here with one Henry Lieberman, as it is the driver of the number 67 that comes home on the top step of the podium this afternoon. And Henry, it was looking like it was going to be one heck of a fight between you and Morse in the closing laps. And, well, you felt a shove, and then I no doubt imagine you looked in the mirror and saw your opponent was nowhere to be found anymore.
Yeah, that was a little sad. My best friend, Mr. Morsehole, he's gone now. But, yeah, that was a really fun fight with him. Only my second league race. He's one of my friends that I know from college, so it's been fun getting to go into beer league through him. So, yeah. Sad he didn't make it to the end.
Kind of talk us through your race tonight. It was a pretty solid drive overall. You won the sprint race and came right back around with a clean sweep to take home the W here in the main event as well.
So, yeah, I mean, early on, starting off, obviously I had a few errors at the start of the feature. Yeah, started first, dropped back down. I think it was to 3rd or 4th. And then after that, I was just trying to fuel save. And yeah, just keeping up with the pack. Luckily, I was able to stay up front after the pits and everything. I was waiting for that code 69 to come a bit earlier, but it never did. So yeah, it ended up just being a normal race.
Well, we look forward to the final race of the season. It is, of course, at Brands Hatch over across the pond in the UK. What's going to be your take as we get set to go race it at a place filled with motorsports history?
Oh, I've actually never driven that track before in iRacing, so it's going to be fun to learn a new one.
Well, we wish you the best of luck when we go racing next time around. Congratulations on taking home a good spot this afternoon, and we'll see you when we go racing next week then for the final time.
Yeah, I'll be there. Take care.
And they'll have been coming home number 1 this afternoon. And, well, unfortunately, Fen, that is actually the only podium driver we got for us here this afternoon.
Yeah.
You don't get to talk to anybody. A quiet afternoon here.
No, that's all right. I'll manage. I'll be all right without my daily dose of human interaction.
You're not too distraught? What do you mean your daily dose of interaction? Do I not count? What is that
no,
supposed
you absolutely
to mean?
count. You absolutely count. Do not.
Good grief.
I guess I'm making a bit. I don't know. Forgive me. My daily dose of human
Ouch,
driver.
I mean,
whatever.
Good grief. that is hurtful, man.
I apologize. My takeaway is not the ideal of my takeaway. No, I will be okay without interviewing a driver. I apologize. I did not mean to hurt your feelings.
Well, we've got next week coming up, right? I mean, I can't get over that. Next week's coming up. It's Brand Hatch, right? I mean, championship-wise, it's looking pretty solid. Morse had that incident on the final lap, yes, but he still comes home to finish 5th, right? A good result for him. I think if he can finish and we're realistic within the top 20, it should be a done deal.
Yes. Yeah, so that should be, I think, where he... Well, if he has just a decent finish next week, he will be more than fine with a locked-in championship because he has some great drop rounds to use, if I remember correctly, which will be applied, I think, for next week or at the end of next week. The thing that I'm really looking at is that 3rd place finish, that 3rd place podium of the championship, because I think between Giovanni Romano and Alexander Hammonds, I think it is, which were tied for points going into this week, means that Giovanni Romano needs to finish, I think, 2 spots ahead of Alexander Hammonds going into the final race if they don't have any other drop rounds to use because they are currently tied for points.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how all of this is going to pan on out when we go racing next week, and we'll look to see how all that's going to figure out when we go racing for one final time across the pond to the UK. Before we get to that, though, more action coming on up. The Average Joe Sim Racing League takes to Fontana, California, where they'll be out at the Auto Club Speedway. Joining on up this Thursday night with the SRA NASCAR Classic Series out of the Texas Motor Speedway on Saturday. The Classic IndyCar Series is back for more for the Lone Sunday race here at Portland International Speedway. From there, it is the High Time Racing Garden Premier Series out for Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and then we'll be back with more next week with a triple header. We started off with the Global IndyCar Challenge, the Worldwide Technology Raceway, followed up by the Premier Sim Racing Simulation Expo Truck Series, alongside the season finale of the Beer League. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. And as always, my name is Rempel, joined alongside me today by Acinni. We'll see you all next time when we go racing on Green Flag TV.